All right, welcome back, everybody. Get ready for another deep dive. This week, we're going to tackle the absolute roller coaster that was college football week 13.
Buckle up.
Yeah, really. We've got game summaries, of course, live updates. Those had me glued to my phone all weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Analyst predictions that, well, let's just say some of those went out the window pretty quickly.
Some more than others.
And even some really passionate reactions straight from the fan message boards. Always entertaining.
Always insightful, too. You can really gauge the pulse of the fan base.
Right. So today's deep dive is all about connecting the dots. It's not just about scores, right? It's about figuring out what those scores mean. What are the storylines? What are the turning points that nobody saw coming? What moments changed the entire trajectory of the season?
Exactly. And this week, there were a lot of those ones.
Oh, for sure. And I think a good place to start is that, that utter mayhem in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah. The Big 12. Talk about unpredictable.
We had ranked BYU and Colorado both on the road, playing unranked opponents. And on paper, you look at it and you think, okay, should be straightforward, right?
You'd think so.
But as any college football fan knows, things rarely go according to plan.
It's never a dull moment.
Never. So let's start with Colorado. I mean, getting absolutely dominated by Kansas. Devin Neal, 4 touchdowns. I did not see that coming. Did you?
Not at all. Colorado really seemed to underestimate Kansas. Maybe a classic case of a trap game, coming off a couple of big wins. They let their guard down. And Kansas, they were hungry. They capitalized on every mistake.
And then there was BYU. Oh, man, that ending.
Talk about a heartbreaker.
A potential game-winning Hail Mary in the final seconds against Arizona State. And then the home crowd storms the field before the play is over.
Unbelievable.
Almost cost them the game. You have got to check out the message boards. People were losing their minds.
It's moments like those that make college football so captivating. You could feel the energy shift in the stadium.
Yeah.
And to think, all this chaos resulted in a 4-way tie at the top of the Big 12. Who predicted that?
Absolutely nobody. And speaking of unpredictable, how about Florida taking down 9-9 Ole Miss? Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart throws 2 crucial interceptions late in the game. It was like their offense just completely stalled.
Yeah, you could feel the momentum shift. Florida's defense deserves a ton of credit. They were relentless, putting pressure on Dart all game long, forcing those errors. It wasn't just an off day for Ole Miss. Florida came prepared, and they executed their game plan flawlessly.
And with that win, they pretty much single-handedly ended Ole Miss's playoff hoax. Huge implications.
Absolutely massive.
See, this is why I love college football, right? It's not just about the big names, the preseason hype. Any team, on any given Saturday, they can completely flip the script.
And that's what keeps us all coming back for more.
Absolutely. But even with all the surprises, we got to talk about the big dogs, too. Ohio State, ranked number 2. They demolished previously undefeated Indiana.
Dominant performance.
31 unanswered points. I mean, at this point, can anyone stop their offense?
It's a tough question. Their offensive line is playing like a well-oiled machine, giving their quarterback all the time in the world. And their play calling is incredibly smart. They exploited every weakness in Indiana's defense.
Indiana, who, by the way, had been playing incredible defense all season long.
It was almost like they didn't know what hit them.
And then there's Penn State. That game against Minnesota had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Talk about a nail-biter.
To seal the win, they convert on 4th down 3 times in a single drive.
Talk about clutch.
It really felt like their whole season in a nutshell. Scrappy, resilient, never giving up.
They had that next man up mentality for sure. Really impressive to watch.
Now, Miami, they bounced back from their first loss of the season to just dominate Wake Forest.
They needed that win.
Big time, to get that momentum back.
They look like a completely different team.
Okay, but the game I'm really looking forward to, Notre Dame, no posts. Going up against no 19 Army, Yankee Stadium.
Classic matchup.
It's a clash of undefeated teams. You got the historical backdrop. But here's what makes it even more interesting. Army. They're doing it the old-fashioned way.
No transfer portal, no NIL deals, just hard work and dedication.
It's all about building a team, not just assembling talent, right?
Refreshing, honestly.
In a landscape where everyone's chasing the quick fix, Army is proving that there's still value in the fundamentals.
It's a great story.
It really is. It's like a throwback,
It really is.
And they're actually winning. It makes you think, right, is all this hype about NIL, the transfer portal. Is it really the only way to build a successful program?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, there's no doubt that those tools can have a huge impact, especially in the short term. But Army's success is proving that there's still value in taking the long view, building a team from the ground up.
Investing in those relationships.
Right, exactly. Creating a system where players develop their skills over time and buy into a culture that emphasizes, things like discipline and teamwork.
And let's be honest, it's working. They're undefeated. They're playing in one of the most iconic venues in the country. They're capturing the hearts of fans everywhere.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
And it's got people talking, What if a team like Army actually won it all? A national championship.
Wow. Now that would be something.
It would be a seismic shift, wouldn't it? It would really challenge the conventional wisdom about how to build a championship caliber program in this day and age.
It would almost be like a David versus Goliath story.
Exactly. A team that nobody expected, a team that's doing it the old-fashioned way, going up against the Goliaths of college football and proving that it's still possible to win with heart, with grit, with a commitment to something bigger than yourself.
That would be incredible.
It would be. And it would send a powerful message to every program in the country that there's more than one way to reach the mountaintop.
But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, Riley. Army still has a lot to prove.
Oh, for sure.
Starting with that matchup against Notre Dame, that's going to be a huge test.
Yes.
But win or lose, I think what Army's doing is incredibly inspiring. It's a reminder that in a sport that's often obsessed with the next big thing, with instant gratification, you can still achieve success by sticking to your principles, by focusing on the fundamentals.
And by building something that lasts, right?
Yeah.
Something that transcends the individual players, the individual seasons.
Yeah.
A program that stands for something more than just wins and losses.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It is. And speaking of building something lasting, we should probably touch on those other teams that are in the hunt for a championship. Those teams that are maybe taking a different approach, a more, shall we say, modern approach.
Right. The ones with those stacked rosters, the 5-star recruits, the high-profile coaches.
Exactly.
And some of them are doing pretty well, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've got that crazy 4-way tie in the Big 12.
Wild, isn't it?
The SEC is, well, the SEC, always a bloodbath. And then you've got teams like Oregon out west quietly putting together a really impressive season.
They're definitely flying under the radar.
They are.
But they're a team to watch, for sure.
So for all the talk about Army and their unique approach, it's clear that there are multiple paths to success in college football.
There are. And that's what makes it so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
It's a sport that's constantly evolving, adapting, and finding new ways to win.
It's unpredictable. It's exciting. It's full of twists and turns that you just can't see coming.
And that's why we love it.
Absolutely. But, in the midst of all the excitement, it's easy to forget about some of the bigger issues that are swirling around college football.
Yeah, you're talking about those off-the-field issues.
Exactly. Remember that Arizona State game we were talking about? The one where the fans stormed the field prematurely?
Oh, yeah. That was a wild scene.
It was. But it also sparked a lot of conversations about fan behavior, about stadium security, about the responsibility of universities to create a safe environment for everyone.
Important conversations to have, for sure. It's a reminder that the passion of college football can sometimes, spill over into dangerous territory.
It can. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive today, I think it's important to keep those bigger issues in mind.
Agreed.
We've talked about the games, the upsets, the implications for the playoff race. But there's another layer to this story, right? A layer that goes beyond the X's and O's, beyond the wins and losses.
Right. We need to talk about the legacy of this season. What will we remember about it 10 years from now? What will be the lasting impact?
It's a big question. What will we remember about this season 10 years from now? The upsets, the big games, sure. But will those be the things that really stick with us?
It's hard to say, right? It's like we get so caught up in the moment-to-moment drama of the season that it's tough to zoom out and see the bigger picture.
Right, exactly. So what do you think? What will be the defining story of the 2024 season?
It's funny. We might not know for a while. Sometimes these things take time to really crystallize, But I have a feeling, and this might sound crazy, but I have a feeling that the story we'll be telling 10 years from now, it's the story of Army.
Really? Even if they don't win it all?
Yeah, I
Damn.
think so.
Yeah,
Because
never.
their story is about more than just wins and losses. It's about it's about challenging the status quo. It's about sticking to your principles, even when the world around you is telling you to do something different.
So it's like they're representing something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. They're a symbol of a different way of doing things, a reminder that you don't have to follow the crowd, that you can achieve success by staying true to your values, by building something lasting, something meaningful.
It's a powerful message.
It is. And I think it's one that will resonate with people long after this season is over.
I think you're right. And it's not just about Army, right? It's about all the teams, all the players who are out there competing with heart, with integrity, with a commitment to something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely. Those are the stories that inspire us, that remind us why we love this sport.
And you know what? Those are the stories that will ultimately define this season. The stories of resilience, of dedication, of teams and players who overcame adversity and achieved greatness on their own terms.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up our deep dive this week.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And be sure to tune in next week as we continue to explore the amazing world of college football.
See you then.